The truth is that most men have been led astray. They've been bamboozled into an idea about what man is. And most men grew up, especially most men these days, grew up watching YouTube, figuring out who they are and how they are based on movies. And the results of having to father themselves is highest suicide rates we've seen in a long time. The results of having to figure it out themselves on YouTube is the divorce rate higher than it's ever been. Domestic violence higher than it's ever been. Drinking, porn addiction and obsession higher than it's ever been. Because men are disconnected from their hearts, from their body, from their thump. They are weak. And it is our job to not just tell them, not just know the way, but go the way and show the way. We are having this conversation because it's necessary. We're having this conversation because it is our duty, and help men understand that they don't have to do life by themselves.
If you have a wound with the core primary masculine in your life, your father, it will translate to anything else that's familiar in your life as well. Any other man that's familiar, and you won't be able to trust men.
And it's just this vicious cycle that just keeps going and going and going and going and going until you see another example, and you can't be what you can't see.
Most of us, when we're trying to figure something out, we ask how, but the most powerful question you can ask is who? Who can help me open that up? Who can push me a little too far? Who can help me see myself in ways that I could not see by myself? One of my favorite quotes, and we say this all the time, it's not the load that breaks us down, but the way we carry it.
We all carry pain and fear within us. And we all need a safe space for that to be expressed, for that to be released, for that anger, that tension, that big energy that we have to be unleashed within us, for our burdens to be unloaded. And most men don't have that. Most men don't have close network of friends. They don't have peers that they can rely on. They don't have people that they can trust. They can't be themselves, they have to hide. They're accustomed to wearing masks. So we're a stand for men not wearing masks. We're a stand for men being themselves, but not only for themselves, for their communities, for their families, for Mother Earth.
Our challenges is the narrative that have been painted for men since the beginning of time. And that is a huge challenge.
And what I recognize is that you can't create a brotherhood by yourself. That there was a bunch of other men just like me who were siloed off in their worlds and in their bubbles, working out by themselves in their little caves and cocoons. Instead of working out alone, let's work out together.
It just started to outgrow. So we started in my garage, and we were just a few guys throwing down.
4 of us showed up. Samson, Garen, myself, Dallas, plus Steph. I pulled out my camera and I said, let's take a picture. Snapped it, put it on social media, and some other guys in Austin said, hey, what's that? Can I come to the next one? Absolutely. So we do it again.
And we just kept doing it. And then all of a sudden, we outgrew Stephanos' garage. And then, so all of a sudden, more guys started coming. And at first it was just a workout. And then
6 people became 10 people, became 20 people, became 30, 40, 50 people, 60 people.
First message I got from somebody on a DM, they was like, man, you have no idea how much I needed that message. Next message, man, my marriage improved after what you said about responsibility after that workout. Man, you got to keep doing that. And I was like, these bonds were starting to happen. These friendships were starting to happen. More and more stories of wives ushering their man, no, go and work out with them.
And it was somewhere in between there that Preston came to me. And it was somewhere in between there that he asked that question about, do we create a movement that is far bigger than us? And the answer was yes, right? And so it was just this natural progression of outgrowing the spaces that we found ourselves in, and that continues to happen.
We started with 4 of us, and at this point, there's probably 1,000 of us. And it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger because men need each other.
But I want to show men, and I want to show the world there's a different way. It's how men are perceived in the world. I want to contribute to shifting that narrative. And so men carry so much shame than what we think, not only in their physical bodies, but in their perception of self, which impacts their self-worth.
And I see so much evil going on in the world. The majority of it is done from the hands of deep down inside men who don't love themselves. And then if you take it up to the surface, it gets masked by, oh man, alcohol, drugs and all that. But why are they drinking alcohol? Why are they abusing? Because possibly they were exposed to it by their mom and their dad.
And so many men share that story. So many men have experienced abuse growing up, emotional, physical, sexual. So many men have experienced abandonment, rejection, humiliation that's stored in their nervous system. And they don't have an expression for it because boys aren't meant to cry, or big boys don't cry. Men aren't meant to share their feelings.
So, if you exposed people at least to have an opportunity to see the contrast, then people now psychologically feel, oh, I have a choice?
The only way that any human being can actually express what is repressed is when they feel safe enough in their nervous system, in their physiology to do so. So a big thing that we do at MPB is helping men feel safe. We do that by seeing them, by not judging them. In my own life experience, I have made some of the greatest breakthroughs and transformations by being met with non-judgment and compassion.
MPB is different than just a bunch of guys getting together and working out because we create community inside of our gatherings. Whether it's online or in person, we are looking at the entire being and not just the physical body. It is a church for men. It is a space to laugh, play, cry, figure out who you are in the face of another man.
And so who we're attracting is a man that is willing and open, a man that is willing to see himself, to traverse his fears, right? To go where he hasn't gone before in the unknown chasms of his own reality. Who we're creating is that harmonized man that is fucking rooted and grounded in his body, that's strong in his body, has confidence in his physical, visceral self, but that also has an open heart.
A real man is somebody who's a hybrid man. He can find his way in the woods or the metaphorical woods of business. A real man is somebody who keeps stepping back in the room when he drops the ball. He keeps bringing his heart back into the space and saying, how can I grow? How can I get better? I find that a lot of men's groups are kind of either or. They're either hyper masculine or they're hyper feminine, and there's no space in between. And so this group is for the guy that is aspirational. This group is for the guy that gets that it's okay to want a Range Rover and to save the planet. A lot of men's groups are focused around heaviness and pain and all of that stuff, and we actually have a good ass time. We actually enjoy each other's company.
Most, not all, but most movements usually just have one person at the helm. With this particular movement, there's 3 of us at the helm, so to speak, but what we advocate for is a lateral leadership. The day of the lone wolf is over, and what men need the most is community. And that is the reality of it. We have men in our group that are bodybuilders, men that have never exercised before in their lives. We have men in our group that are in their 70s. We have men in our group that are in their early 20s and late teens. And we have men in our group that have diverse business interests, some very successful entrepreneurs and some people that have very little money financially. Part of our vision is to have the richest man and the poorest man in the room and to want to be in the space together, to see each other through that lens, not to have that difference in the room and say, I see you, brother, and I can be here with you.
We've been told the caliber of leaders that y'all have in Austin feels like I signed up for a mastermind or I signed up for a retreat. So you can have a one person doing this thing, but we don't operate from one. The thing where the one person, that's like a dead style. Now the one person becomes a body and an agreement, and the agreement becomes the one person.
All of you is welcome, and you're not alone. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter how many women you've had sex with. It doesn't matter how many zeros are in your bank account. It doesn't matter how successful you are externally. And it doesn't matter how much pain you're carrying. All of you is welcome. We can help you, if you're willing to, own the parts of you that you've neglected and that maybe you don't even know about.